Kicking things off with U.S. Central Command. Busy weekend for the military in the Middle East today at 4 p.m. Eastern. This was posted by CENTCOM about 5 hours ago as of this recording. U.S. forces began a new round of strikes against Iran and the Commander-in-Chief's direction. The strikes are designed to further degrade Iranian military capabilities used to attack commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. From Gunther Eagleman, he says the 9th night of strikes. Trump honoring the fallen heroes, and he's hitting Iran hard, and he is hitting Iran really hard. CENTCOM pounded Iranian command centers and surveillance and maritime targets overnight after Iran killed U.S. service members. President Trump says we hit them very hard again tonight in honor of those great patriots. No more games. Iran can't have nukes, can't attack our troops or shipping. Diplomacy only works if they actually change behavior. Attacking ships instead of honoring agreements shows they understand only strength. Trump's not playing. America is responding decisively. I think they are.
According to CENTCOM, military command centers, surveillance sites, and maritime positions were among the targets that were hit in those strikes. This is taking place after 3 U.S. service members were killed by an Iranian ballistic missile attack in Jordan on Friday. A 4th soldier was killed in northern Iraq during a controlled detonation of an unexploded Iranian drone. President Trump reacted to the deaths of these soldiers on Sunday.
Well, we feel very badly, but you know, those great people, those great patriots are out there fighting that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. But we hit them very hard again tonight. And we did that in honor of the probably 3 as opposed to 2 great patriots.
President Trump told Fox News last week that if Iran doesn't reach a deal, strikes will escalate this week to hit power plants and bridges. Iranian officials, including some of the negotiators, remain defiant.
You can neither threaten us nor bribe us. In the negotiations before the 12-day war, they had come to bribe. Not to bribe me, to bribe the Islamic Republic, saying we will do this and that. We will build this and that.
It's a guarantee.
The Iranians are saying publicly that the memorandum of understanding is suspended. Regional countries are reportedly pushing for another agreement, as Secretary of State Marco Rubio indicated the diplomatic path forward remains open.
I think we're always open to diplomacy. It has to be real. It has to be a deal that they're willing to live by. Look, Iran a week ago was supposed to put out a statement saying that the Straits of Hormuz would be open, that they would no longer attack shipping. And instead of doing that, they attacked 3 ships. I think that was last Friday or Saturday.
3 commercial ships.
So, I mean, their behavior has to change in order for ours to change.
Uncertain days ahead. Here in Israel, the military remains on high alert. Just yesterday, Israeli air defense systems near the city of Eilat were activated as Iranian missiles targeted the southern Jordanian city of Aqaba. Some of the debris from those missiles raining down on southern Israel. Guys?
Wow. All right, Trey, we're going to get to you a little bit more in detail next hour. So,
yeah, they're hitting other countries, too.
That's what's going on. I mean, 9 straight days, they're really hitting Kuwait hard. And they're hitting Bahrain,
is one of them.
But Jordan is the biggest surprise.
Yes, yes.
We got to get missile
But not if you're paying attention to the news this week.
All right, it's 17 minutes after the top.
Okay, so that's it for that clip. Let's move on to the next. The next several are going to be of the conflict in Iran, Strait of Hormuz, and so forth. Unusual Whales says breaking the U.S. military reportedly withheld details of 3 Iranian strikes in Jordan that wounded dozens of troops, fearing disclosure that could help Iran improve its targeting, per New York Times. And I guess the left and the Democrats were throwing flack at the Trump administration if that is true. Unusual Whales, I mean, I think often they have a bias toward the left, in my opinion, at least from what I've seen. But this one, I think that they're pretty in the middle with regard to that. I don't see how that would be really of any surprise. I mean, that you don't want us to give away strategic positions or our weaponry, technology. Like, there's a lot of elements to our military strategy that we don't want to give to the enemy. And unfortunately, if American troops were hurt or, God forbid, killed, then you know, it's going to get disclosed at some point. I mean, if they didn't disclose it 5 minutes after it happened, well, then, you know, I guess, you know, what are you going to do? But at some point, the information is going to come out. It always comes out at some point. From Breaking 911, the Pentagon identified 2 U.S. service members killed in Iranian attacks on an American base in Jordan on Friday and on Saturday. Lieutenant Tyler James Freehan, 25, of Ewa Beach, Hawaii, and Private Isabella Gonzalez, only 19 years old, of Carrollton, Texas. My daughter is only 19 years old. That is unbelievable and heartbreaking on every conceivable level. I cannot even imagine what her parents must be going through right now. So, but President Trump, he swore vengeance. And they did say that there was a third service member who lost his or her life. They didn't name the third, at least when I was looking earlier, or probably mid-afternoon was when I was pulling these posts for tonight's episode. But these were posted about 12 hours ago. They might have the third service member named, and I imagine I'll probably be going through that tomorrow. And from Sean Parnell, while nearly 100 service members were deemed to have some degree of injury since July 7th of this year, 96% of them who were injured have returned to duty. They are determined to get back in the fight. The vast majority of injuries experienced were minor concussions. Further updates will be posted on the Defense Casualty Analysis System. God is good. And here's another one from Sean Parnell. The Department of War rejects these baseless and malicious accusations of hiding injury numbers as outright lies from partisan hacks at the New York Times who are desperate to smear America's military and its leadership. Plus, they're desperate for clicks. They've gone full-on rage bait because they're failing as a mainstream media publication, as many of them are. I mean, look, when the paywall fails, when they can't raise enough money to charge to just simply view their website, they have to start resorting to more desperate measures. But the mainstream media has been doing this for years and years at this point, just trying to drive an insane narrative or frame something that's either non-existent or it's a minimal event, and they just try to blow it up way out of proportion. So it sounds like that's probably what they were doing in this instance. Claims of concealment and fabrications meant to further distress the American people in the wake of 3 service members killed in action. Disgusting behavior, even for the New York Times. In fact, U.S. military casualty information is publicly available and regularly updated online on the Defense Casualty Analysis System for everyone, including the media, to review. Injuries in the military encompass everything from minor sprained ankles during routine training to incidents entirely unrelated to combat operations. Cherry-picking raw numbers without context paints a deliberately misleading and incomplete picture. That's what they're pretty good at doing. Not just the New York Times, but all these publications, they're all doing it. Our troops execute the president's directives with excellence, supported by superior training, equipment, and medical care that prioritizes safety. This is the most transparent Department of War in history. We challenge the so-called journalists who wrote these lies, one of whom was recently subpoenaed regarding an alleged violation of federal criminal law to stop the smears against the finest war-fighting force on Earth. Holy shit, man. They're being subpoenaed, violating federal criminal law. What the hell, man? What's going on with that? New York Times is employing criminals now, I guess. Pentagon withheld dozens of U.S. military injuries in Iran war. Central Command is not required to release information about injured troops, especially when they quickly return to duty, a military official said. Look, man, they said it doesn't matter what the injury is, even if it's a minor sprained ankle, they're going to put it on their website. It's publicly available information. So maybe they're just completely making this shit up, or they went to some source who probably has no credibility at all. I mean, like, anybody can be a source. I mean, like, somebody who's never even been in the military could probably technically be a source. As long as they hear it from somebody who's not working for the New York Times, I'm sure that they would probably consider them a source. Let's just say they're anonymous. You know, that tends to work out well in our favor. All right, from AFP News Agency, U.S. Army footage shows a 9th consecutive night of strikes on Iran. Footage released by the U.S. Central Command on July 19th shows U.S. forces launching its 9th consecutive night of strikes on Iranian military capabilities. Check it out. Now, I read somewhere the other day, I believe it was actually yesterday, just in the last few days, we've hit over 2,000 targets in Iran. And of course, as we saw on Friday, we're now going after their bridges, their transportation, the rail lines, and we're starting to hit them at their infrastructure because it appears as though they're trucking all this heavy equipment, military equipment, and we're just trying to sever their ability to do so. But I do remember Trump a couple of months ago, as I mentioned earlier, that power plants was something that's on the table, but as a last resort. And if they're not going to come to the table or be diplomatic. They keep firing at civilian ships. I mean, like, I'm assuming that we're just going down the list of things that were taken out, and it may have to get to that point. Hopefully it doesn't, because President Trump says he doesn't want to impact the Iranian civilians' lives too badly. And obviously taking out power plants would do just that. So anyway, from OSINT Technical, newly released footage of U.S. forces conducting airstrikes on Iran overnight, seen hitting construction equipment and a coastal radar site. This is on July the 19th, so yesterday. Only 18 seconds. Probably no sound. No sound. But a big hit. No doubt about that. Second big hit. I see something over there. Not anymore. Uh-oh. Oh, yeah. Definitely a radar installation. Another one bites the dust. Just taking them out by the thousands. All right. Rajendran says footage of U.S. airstrike on Iranian terrorist regime target. Now, this didn't get any likes or anything. This stood out as just some of the footage that I was going over. The ones that don't have a lot of likes, like that number in the thousands, for example, I tend to take with an extra big grain of salt. It didn't appear to be AI for me, from my opinion. So I'm just saying that there is no absolute guarantee that this did happen last night. I'm just throwing that out there. Not trying to go all misinformation or anything. This is just circulating around on the internet. But it's nothing too dramatic. You're just seeing flashes off in the distance. And a loud explosion. So, you know, that's why I kept it in here, because I believe it. I mean, it seems legit to me. Anyway, Nicholas Lissack, first footage has emerged from tonight's blistering U.S. strikes on Iran's terrorist regime, with results now blazingly clear. This video shows an IRGC missile site in Tabriz near the Turkish border, utterly destroyed and engulfed in flames. We are winning. Iran will be free. Everything's on fire.
God.
Last I heard, the people in Iran still have the internet, by and large. That could have definitely changed over the weekend. I take a break from the news and the happenings over the weekend. Just time to relax and decompress. But I didn't come across anything today with regard to nationwide internet blackout in Iran. And that could very well be the reason why videos like this are making their way onto the internet. Another one from OSINT Defender. Footage reportedly shows U.S. Army M270s firing a salvo of ATACMS earlier this week at an undisclosed location in the Middle East during renewed combat operations against Iran. So they're firing off some rockets here.
No one's supposed to fire.
And there they go. Godspeed. Iran shall be free. All right. No clue where those ended up, but just taking off. Open source intel from yesterday. Iran footage appears. No, in Iran. This isn't Iran footage. This is footage in Iran appears to show the aftermath of a strike on the Darkhovin nuclear power plant construction site in Khuzestan province in Iran. Assuming this is either U.S. forces. I'm not even sure if Israel, I don't know if they're conducting strikes too. I imagine they probably are. So anyway, just smoke off in the distance. Again, there's no 100% like definitive way to prove exactly what that is. Just going by what the title says. Just shy of 1,000 likes. Again, grain of salt. From Baba Benares, U.S. Air Forces launched fresh airstrikes against IRGC targets. An explosion was reported in the vicinity of the Sanai Electronic Industries complex in Shiraz, Fars province, Iran. The facility is one of the country's largest drone component manufacturing hubs. Let's see what this one's all about. A lot of smoke. Damn, man. It's heavy duty. There you go, man. In broad daylight. Grain of salt, but still. 3,500 likes for that one. 67,000 views. Blue check mark. No government profile, but, you know, that's kind of how these on-the-ground footage clips tend to turn up. From the Hormuz letter, breaking, Iran directly rejects the U.S.-backed Qatar's new proposal of a 10-day ceasefire that would halt U.S. strikes on Iran in exchange for Iran opening 2 Hormuz shipping lanes, with Iran's senior negotiating member, Marandi, saying, "Don't even think about it." This follows Iran's formal MOU exit 2 days ago and Iranian Deputy FM Gharibabadi stating that Iran will never start negotiations with the U.S. under any circumstances. So is that dude, I don't know if he's as official as it gets. I'm not sure exactly what that title means. But I mean, if that's the official statement of Iran, I mean, obviously this thing ain't going to be ending anytime soon if that's really the case, if they're not willing to negotiate at all. So, what do we do from there? And from this one, BRICS News, just in, Iranian President Pezeshkian says Iran is in a full-scale war with the United States. So did the Iranian government, I guess, formally declare war against the United States? Is that what he's trying to say here? I don't know. That's just according to BRICS News, full-scale war. And this is from the Iran Watcher. There are unverified reports that tanks are being transported toward southern Iran amid concerns over a potential U.S. ground incursion. This footage reportedly originates from Isfahan and is said to show tanks being moved south. The location and context have not yet been independently verified. So that's the key takeaway. We don't know exactly where this is, when this is, but it does show tanks being moved. Real short, but I got another one. I got another clip that's a bit longer. The Iran Watcher, an Islamic Republic State TV host, openly said that even if the United States occupied southern Iran, the world would not end. The regime is now conditioning the Iranian public to accept the possibility of a U.S. ground invasion and foreign troops on Iranian soil. It also, exposes the hollowness of decades of propaganda claiming the Islamic Republic is indispensable to Iran's security. A regime that openly entertains the occupation of its own territory has no credibility when it claims to be the guardian of Iran's sovereignty, territorial integrity, or national interests. All right. And I'm not sure if we're going to get anything in English, though. Yeah, see, that's why I stated. Okay, look, if you understand, I'll repost this. There's a direct link to my profile below in the description. And let's see what else they said. This is from a few days ago. The recent U.S. strike pattern is beginning to resemble the opening phase of some of history's largest military campaigns. Throughout modern warfare, major offensives have often been preceded by systematic attacks on transportation networks, bridges, railways, logistics hubs, air defenses, communications, command centers, and energy infrastructure. Look, I think with the exception of bridges and railways, I think that's what we've been doing since, when was that, like the last day of February. These are known as shaping operations, campaigns designed to isolate the battlefield, slow reinforcements, disrupt supply lines, and degrade an adversary's ability to coordinate and sustain combat before the decisive phase of a conflict. Historical examples include, I'm not going to go through all the details with those, but you can read them on screen, invasion of Sicily, Normandy D-Day, Operation Bagration, let's see, Operation Cobra, Desert Storm, Iraq War, Russian invasion of Ukraine. And they go into some more detail with regard to that. If you want to read that in detail, I'll repost that as well. And let's head on back to the next. Where's that next one with all the tanks? The Global Eye, breaking, circulating footage reportedly shows heavy Iranian military reinforcements being transferred to the southern border with Iraq, close to Kuwait. The footage reportedly recorded in Avaz, Khuzestan province, a majority Arab area in southwestern Iran, shows the movement and transport of several Iranian M113 armored personnel carriers, APCs, M577 command post carriers, as well as T-72 main battle tanks. So they've got all of those on trucks. Rolling on south, I guess. Damn, so I guess they're just going to show them one after another, or one after the next for a full minute. Unless they're looping, and we're just watching the same 6 trucks over and over again. Yeah, they look different. Well, they're taking them somewhere, assuming this was over the weekend and not like a year ago or something. Just rolling down the highway with everyday traffic. heading, from what they said, heading south. Was that toward Kuwait, the Kuwait-Iraq border or area? Yeah, close to Kuwait, near the Iraq border. Breaking 911, Iranian media released footage claiming the IRGC Navy shot down a U.S. MQ-9 Reaper off of southern Iran. So that's what they say that happened here. Okay, well, that was what was released. Whether they did or not, I guess there you have it. I didn't come across anything, not to say that they didn't confirm that it was shot down. I just didn't see anything today from the military saying that there was, what was it, MQ-9 Reaper? Yeah, MQ-9 Reaper that was shot down. And from open source intel, footage shows an IRGC launch from Lar Fars province, Iran, most likely targeting Bahrain. So this is flying out of Iran. Just 3 seconds, just a quick 3-second clip. Not doing anything but flying through the sky. Next one, footage from the Al Subiya Kuwaiti power station and water desalination plant, which was struck by Iran today. This was yesterday. Oh man, arc and electricity. Dude, it's way too close, man. I don't know, just judging by the sound, you could hear the electricity. Anyway, it's not good. Megatron breaking direct impacts at a U.S. base in Bahrain. Again, grain of salt. I would say this is unconfirmed because this didn't come straight out of Central Command or any U.S. military official. It's not even showing a strike, it's just showing what appears to be smoke. But okay, whatever, it's just another one I came across. All right, and I believe that's all the footage I have for tonight. We're going to move on from Clash Report. Marco Rubio on Iran. He says, I do think the world is coming to a point now where it's clear that Iran, at least some people in Iran, want to control the Straits and hold it as leverage against the world. And the world has to decide whether or not it's going to allow an international waterway to be under the control of a country like this. It would be completely illegal, unlawful, and unacceptable. The United States will continue to do what it needs to protect global shipping, but other countries need to begin to step up and provide, whether it's hardware or finances, to help carry that burden.
But I do think the world is coming to a point now where it's clear that Iran, at least some people in Iran, want to control the Strait and hold that as leverage against the world. And the world has to decide whether or not it's going to allow an international waterway to be under the control of a country like that. It will be completely illegal, unlawful, and unacceptable. The United States will continue to do what it needs to protect global shipping, but other countries need to begin to step up and provide, whether it's hardware or finances, to help carry that burden.
Well, and is this something that Iran, the IRGC, the Ayatollah, is that something that they've been threatening or they've been talking about doing since before Operation Epic Fury even began? That they were going to start tolling the Strait of Hormuz, they were going to start intercepting ships and requiring them to pay money to pass? I didn't come across anything like that way back when. That would have been in February or even earlier than that. But maybe. I just didn't hear that communicated when Operation Epic Fury first happened. I just imagine that at this point, that's what they want to do. Although we don't get any oil from the Strait of Hormuz. We don't get any oil from the region, not to my knowledge. And I believe that most of Europe doesn't get their oil. I think the majority of it ends up in Asia. So Asia is the one that, or that's the region, the continent that benefits the most from this, all the oil that comes out of the Strait of Hormuz, which is about 20% of the world's oil supply, which of course, if it's bottlenecked, if it's frozen, if it's unable to pass without any aggression or any drama, then everything will be pretty fine. The gas prices will be kind of what it is usually, more or less. But if they do create a bottleneck or they close the Strait of Hormuz, then obviously our gas prices are going to skyrocket because we've got this whole global oil market. And, regardless if we even benefit from any of the oil, which we don't, but still, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how they could fix that kind of situation because with the whole petrodollar and all that going on. Anyway, from Fox News, breaking, the Kuwaiti army says it is intercepting Iranian missiles and drones incoming into its country after heinous Iranian aggression. As tensions in the Middle East continue to escalate, the general staff of the army says any explosion sounds heard are the result of air defense systems neutralizing hostile attacks.
So now we've got this breaking news. There is more escalation in the Middle East happening as we speak. The Kuwaiti army now reports it is intercepting Iranian missiles and drones incoming into its country. Remember, their large U.S. Army base in Kuwait. We'll get you the latest as soon as we continue. So now we've got this breaking news. There is more escalation.
That was that. So they didn't go into any detail. They're just like, whenever we get some answers, we'll keep you up to date, whatever. So that was today at about 10 o'clock a.m. And of course, the very first post I led with was from Central Command. That was just a few hours ago. So as far as Central Command goes, that was the latest update that I saw. From Caroline Levitt, President Trump vows to make Iran pay for each American death many times over. That's going to be on justthenews.com. And let me get this sized up. Looks like I haven't been on Just the News in a while. All right, usually I got all these all sized up. President Donald Trump on Monday vowed that Iran would pay many times over for every American killed in the ongoing war. The U.S. has launched a series of strikes over the past weeks after the breakdown of a peace agreement. Trump has sought to extract a commitment from Iran to never possess a nuclear weapon and aim to break them away from their proxy groups in Yemen and Lebanon. Every time Iran kills an American soldier, they will pay for that killing many times over. This directive has been passed on to the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Daniel Kaine, and every leader in the military, which he posted on our True Social. Trump's comments come as Iran has inflicted casualties on American service members in recent days. Earlier on Monday, the White House touted a poll that found more than 60% support for the original peace agreement, which collapsed amid failed negotiations. The Houthi movement in Yemen, moreover, announced a naval blockade of Saudi Arabia in an apparent widening of the conflict. So I don't know if there's going to be anything coming out of that or not, but that would certainly complicate things if that were to happen. And just a short article, short to the point. And let's see. All right, so we got that from Caroline Levitt. The U.S. military on Sunday night unleashed a 9th straight night of punishing aerial attacks on Iran, seeking to degrade Tehran's military capabilities after its attacks on American troops and ships in the Strait of Hormuz. It's another one from Just the News. This one, it'll probably be a short one as well. So, all right, so U.S. Central Command said the strikes began around 7 p.m. and media reports indicated a large swath of Iran was under a barrage. Quote, the strikes will continue degrading Iranian military capabilities used to attack commercial vessels and civilian mariners transiting the Strait of Hormuz, CENTCOM said on X. I think that was the original, the first post that I led with today. I think that was the one. And let's see, what do we got for the next one? From Secretary Sean Duffy, making history. 13 midshipmen from USMMA official, Federal Service Academy, College, Merchant Marine Mariners, Acta Non Verba. The world is our campus. They were awarded the Presidential Unit Citation. I don't know why I couldn't say that. For their role in delivering supplies to our troops in Operation Epic Fury. This is the first time this military award has been presented to civilians, proving just how vital America's merchant marine is to our military success. These midshipmen are serving our country before they even graduate. True patriots. And there's the vessel. They didn't show anything beyond these two images. It's just a note that they received an award for their bravery and their aid in the Operation Epic Fury. And from the Associated Press, breaking, U.S. gas prices have jumped to an average of $4 a gallon again as the U.S. and Iran launch more attacks. So, of course, the gas is going back up again. Lovely, great. In the middle of summer, a time when people like to be out and about, traveling, especially like road trips, camping trips, hunting trips, fishing trips. And this is out of New York. For some reason, U.S. gas prices jumped back to $4 a gallon on average Monday as Washington's latest fighting with Iran renews strain on the flow of fuel worldwide. According to Motor Club AAA, the national average for a gallon of regular gas is now just above the $4 mark. That's about 13 cents more expensive than it was a week ago, and far higher where prices at the pump stood at this time last year when American drivers could fill up for about $3.14 a gallon on average. The U.S. and Israel's war with Iran plunged the world into a global energy crisis, notably as the cost of crude oil, the main ingredient in gasoline, soared due to supply chain and production disruptions across the Middle East. Energy prices cooled last month when Washington and Tehran reached an interim agreement aimed at permanently ending their fighting and reviving traffic in the key Strait of Hormuz. But the peace deal has now crumbled. Now, are they going to explain why it crumbled? With the U.S. on Monday only intensifying airstrikes against Iran, well, why did they do that? Which has responded by launching its own attacks on American allies in the region, and oil flows are largely stalling again. They left out one important part. there was a peace deal in place for 60 days, and for some reason it fell apart. They skipped the why it fell apart. It was because Iran fired and struck 3 commercial shipping vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, which is a direct violation of that 60-day agreement. Now, why would the AP leave that out? Very, very suspicious. It's almost as if they're trying to drive a certain narrative. Many eyes are on the White House before co-launching the war in late February. President Trump once bragged about keeping gas prices low and expressed frustration about them not falling as quickly as the cost of crude oil last month. If prices continue to rebound, expensive gas will be likely at the top of voters' minds during the midterm elections this November. Anyway, so they just go on from there. Yeah, actually, it doesn't really go on that much longer, but they're just talking about just gas prices. It's $5.42 in Hawaii, which I'm sure they probably got extra gas taxes in Hawaii, just like they do in California. I'm not saying that they do. It just wouldn't surprise me if they do. Anyway, from Bar Chart, crude oil only has 43 days of supply left in the U.S., the lowest inventory in 45 years. They're talking about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. U.S. crude inventories are the lowest in 45 years. U.S. crude oil day supply, including Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Well, I mean, if you look at this, like 2018, 2019, going into 2020, obviously it rocketed up in 2020 because of all the lockdowns. People weren't driving as much. A lot of people went to work from home, so clearly the supply of oil shot up. And then Joe Biden gets in, and you think, fresh out of the COVID pandemic, and frankly, in some ways, still kind of in the middle of it by the time he takes over, you would think that this amount of fuel should stay incredibly elevated, but for some weird reason, he started digging into our Strategic Petroleum Reserves. I think it's because he shut down the pipelines, right? Like he shut down the pipelines. I think Keystone was one of them. There were 2 major pipelines that Biden shut down. And then he also withdrew, I believe it was like pretty much all incoming contracts, maybe even some existing contracts on federal land for drilling for oil. So definitely tightening up greatly the supply of oil that was to be extracted and processed. And then, of course, gas started shooting up. And you remember that. It was like Biden's first year, maybe a second year in office, with gas shot up to like $5-6 a gallon. And then he started digging into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which absolutely cratered the supply that was available. And then when Trump gets in, yeah, it was extremely depleted. I think that like out of a supply of like, what was the average? It's like 800 million barrels or something like that. And the Biden administration depleted it down to like something like 200 million or whatever. It was a pretty low amount. So yeah, anyway, fortunately, the infrastructure in Venezuela is starting to get back off the ground again. I know that's going to take some time for them to really get fully operational because the oil industry has been in a state of decay for years and years. So there's that. I know we've been, I guess secretly, have been taking oil from Iran. I don't know if that's still happening or not. So I guess there are other ways to replenish the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, although I'm not really a big fan of stealing other people's oil. Not that we're doing that in Venezuela, but I think we're getting a pretty good discount from Venezuela, whatever that might look like. You know, I guess maybe it remains to be seen.
If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Check out The Swamp, Monday through Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern, with segments dropping on the daily. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.